Bayern Munich dominates German club football. They're one of the world's most successful clubs and biggest sporting brands. The trophy cabinet is packed. They hold a record 25 German titles and 17 national cups. They're 5 times European champions and FIFA World Club winners in 2013. This is their home ground, the 75,000-seater Allianz Arena. Opened in 2005, it cost €340 million to build. It's hosted a Champions League final and World Cup games. The club itself made €500 million last year. That's the third biggest in sales when it comes to a club in global football. It also has been in the black for 22 consecutive seasons. That's an exception, not the norm, in world football. Last year, Bayern made €20 million in profit. A fifth of that came from selling merchandise. Each year, they sell around 1.7 million replica shirts. That's more than all the other Bundesliga sides combined. They gave us behind-the-scenes access as we spoke exclusively to German football legend and Bayern Munich chairman Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, as well as Spanish World Cup winner Xabi Alonso. On this week's Business of Sport.
And now with Rummenigge, the shot on the turn was off the target.
Over 300 appearances and 162 goals for Bayern Munich.
Twice the European Footballer of the Year, Rummenigge.
95 international caps and 45 goals for West Germany.
Evans, challenged by Rummenigge. Rummenigge now in full flight with Ernest.
Karl-Heinz Rummenigge is one of the biggest names in European football. So now he's back as chairman of the club where he made his name. I sat down with him at the club's headquarters in central Munich.
You don't want to lose the roots of football.
For an exclusive interview on Bayern's strategy.
Mr. Rummenigge, thank you very much for talking to us here at Bloomberg. Let's start with the business side of Bayern Munich. Last financial year, you surpassed €500 million in revenue for the first time. You have little debt, you have local investors. How can you sustain this, what seems to be forever rise in revenues? How can you sustain this model?
So, first of all, I believe it is very important having success on the pitch, and then we can work about the success of the pitch. I believe Bayern, fortunately, was in the past 30, 40 years very successful on the pitch, beginning in the 70s when we had the big guys like Franz Beckenbauer, Gerd Müller, Sepp Maier, and so on the pitch. And this team was very successful, winning 3 times in a row the Champions League at that time, and that was the basis, the roots of the clubs, of our club. And then, time by time, we was able to have a kind of continuity on the pitch, and we worked, especially in the past 10 years, in partnerships, what we can do to have a stabilized economy basis. And so we convinced partners like Adidas 12, 13 years ago to be shareholder in Bayern Munich company, because we had the big project, the Allianz Arena, to build up. And in the meantime, we convinced 2 more important partners, like Audi and Allianz Insurance, to be shareholder of Bayern Munich. And so we have a strong basis on the pitch, but I believe a strong basis as well off the pitch, so we can be very optimistic looking in the future.
If we split revenue into 3 compartments, there's match day, broadcasting and commercial. Match day, you lag behind 4 teams in Europe, which leads to the question, could you, will you, why don't you raise ticket prices? Because to be a season ticket holder at Bayern Munich, it's incredibly cheap versus Premier League teams. in England.
Yeah.
Could you, why don't you raise ticket prices to raise your match day revenue?
So we are, as you said, it's right. We are much cheaper than our friends in England, Italy, Spain, France as well. So from the big fives, we are the cheapest. Not just Bayern alone. The whole league is relatively cheap in comparison to these countries. The problem is a kind of philosophy, I would say. So we have the philosophy that the ticket price is on a, let's call it a social basis. So we want to care about that if you go to Bayern Munich, that at the end is not depending just by your pocket, that you are able to get entrance in the stadium or not. So we have still, I would say, rich prices regarding our lounges, our business seats, where you pay for instance, 12,000 euros per season. But then we have as well a very social basis that the stands just costing 150 euros per year for 17 games. So we try to have, let's call it a social basis between the rich and unfortunately not the rich people, that we care about that. I would say it is a kind of philosophy as well, that we don't want to lose the roots of football. Football, I believe, is belonging to fans, and the fans like to go in the stadiums, and so we want to care about that the fans are able to pay relatively, let's call it, good prices.
And let's talk about broadcasting, because I think when it comes to broadcasting rights, Bayern Munich in the top 20 clubs in Europe, it's 10th, 11th. The German league, when you compare with just the Premier League, I mean, it's lagging way behind, isn't it? Can the German league, can the Bundesliga, whichever one, can it close the gap when it comes to broadcasting rights or not? Why is there such a gap?
So, first of all, we have an incredibly big gap between pay TV England and pay TV Germany. First of all, I believe we in Germany, the league made big mistakes if we talk about 10, 12, 15 years ago, where pay TV market was established and built and developed in England. So we was very slow believing that the clock maybe in Germany is going different than in England, but it doesn't go different. So that is a big problem now. You see that in the actually transfer market. And because England has so much, or the English clubs have so much money available in that market, that it is not easy to defend that we keep our players as well here in Bayern Munich, like Thomas Müller or like players from Real Madrid, like Sergio Ramos, because they have big requests from England. And so it is very difficult to keep them. But we have to do better in Germany, because it can't be happen that just the Bundesliga, the first league, is getting something like €500 million if you compare that to the English market, where, for instance, the number 20 of the Premier League is getting likely the double of Bayern Munich as German champion. You can imagine how long these could work, because especially in the transfer market. So I believe we are very creative, very good in sponsorship, very good in merchandise.
Very good in commercial. You're number 2 to PSG, aren't you?
We are very good in these, but so I believe the creativity is quite limited in comparison to the broadcasting money. So we have to do much better in Germany, and that is really an obligation for the German league to cash in money in favor of the clubs, to be more to have a better comparison against the English clubs especially.
Bayern Munich's success has made them a household name across Germany. Now they're setting their sights on a global fan base. The team has just returned from China, where they sold out stadiums and were greeted by thousands of cheering fans. With Bayern Munich recently opening offices in New York and Shanghai, we asked Rummenigge about his plans for global expansion.
The brand is very strong, Bayern Munich. It was number one. Manchester United overtook it last year. According to Brand Finance, you're the world's number 2 brand now. That's based on a club's ability to monetize its global recognition. What more can Bayern Munich do to boost your global recognition? What would you say the key is to harnessing your brand?
I believe we are 100% strong regarding the home market here in Germany. I believe everybody, if you go on the streets asking who is Bayern Munich, probably 100% can give you an answer. I believe what we are doing now is to go abroad, especially in the States and in Asia, especially in Asia, in China, because it's by far the biggest market. So we're going there to bring the club closer to our fans in Asia and in the States, to show the people that what is Bayern Munich, for what it stands Bayern Munich, and what is Bayern Munich maybe different than English clubs. So
how are you different? I mean, you were late to the China party. You've said that the Premier League clubs were there way before you. You've now got a presence in China. I gather you're going to open an office in Shanghai. Is that correct?
That's correct.
How can you show your difference to the other big European clubs who are already present in China?
So I believe we can show our difference being different, because we just want to not go alone there for cashing money quickly. So we want to establish partnerships. So we try to get in closer partnerships. Let's call it, we want, at the end, of course, we want to earn money in that countries, in that regions. But we are always ready to give up and to help them in supporting football in their countries. I believe in the States, soccer is on a very good way. Football in China is on a good way, but however, they need help to establish the quality of these big quantity they fortunately have available. So I believe we can do a lot for Chinese football, we can do a lot for American football, and we try to do so to help them at the end. The outcome has to be good for both, for Bayern Munich and for the football in the States and in China.
Do you worry about China, especially the headlines in recent days? It's an economy, it's a market system that's going through troubled times. Does that affect your supporter on the ground or not?
No, not really, not really. Absolutely no, because when we had our tour this year in China, playing in Beijing, in Shanghai and Guangzhou, the third one, so we had still the impression that economy is a bit slowing in comparison to the past years. And we had some talks and discussions with partners who followed us on that tour, like Allianz, like Audi, Volkswagen, and so on. And we had the clear sign, however, that is a question of time now. So maybe after always growing, heavenly growing, maybe it's now a couple of months, hopefully just months, that the economy in China is slowing, but no worry about. We are not worried about that.
What are the new markets? You mentioned the US, you have an office in New York. Outside the US, outside China, what are the new markets that you're going to be pushing into, the untapped markets that Bayern has to be pushing into in incoming years?
I can imagine that we go to a market which maybe is not very developed in football and not escaped by many football clubs like India. India is a big market in the world. Many people are living there, and football is, in comparison to hockey or to other sports in India, not very popular. But I believe there is still a big market, because they established a league last year, and I believe that is something what we can do together with our partners, going there together with Adidas, with Audi, with Allianz, to help Indian football to develop, but as well in our favor.
Can we talk about domestic matters once again? The 50+1 rule, which to many English fans It's a strange rule, but it's quite simple. The fans have to be in control of 51% of each club. There are a few exceptions to this rule, and these exceptions is causing slight annoyance among fans in Germany. Do you accept the annoyance? I mean, we're talking about Hoffenheim here. You know, we're talking about Bayer Leverkusen or Wolfsburg. People are looking at Leipzig, Hanover. Is the rule being diluted? Is it a bad thing for football? Should the rule be binned? What's your view?
First of all, from the legal point of view, this rule is not in line with the law. With the European law, doesn't work. And so we had a case here from Hanover that the chairman or the boss of Hanover was troubling that rule, and he was close to open a legal case in Luxembourg at the EuGH. And I believe fans likes it. They love it. And I had some interesting experience when we played, I believe, the quarterfinal 2 years ago in Manchester. So there had been many supporters with a green and yellow shirt.
That's right.
And I asked one of them, what is the reason that you're wearing the green and yellow shirt? And they said, so we don't like the Glazers, we don't like that they take over the club, and we don't like that, and so we don't want to help them buying the original shirt. And it was an interesting experience for me. And then they said to me, we love Bayern Munich because you are independent. So I believe the supporters love the independency of the clubs.
Is it not working, financial fair play, in Europe, or not?
Telling you the truth, it's very difficult to understand actually financial fair play, because when I see the transfer activities from certain clubs who had been penalized a year ago, it's very difficult to understand if financial fair play this year is different and how it works. And what I'm missing a bit is a transparency how it works, because I understand the rules, but I don't understand the rationality actually of the whole system. And that is not up to me. I received many telephone calls, what has happened in the market, because a year ago some clubs had been penalized and now they came back stronger than before. And it's very difficult to understand, and I believe it's up to UEFA to make it more transparent and to make it more understandable for the clubs.
That was Bayern Munich Chief Executive Officer Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. Up next, I speak to current player and Spanish star Xabi Alonso. He's won everything there is to win on the pitch. What about off the pitch? We speak about his investments and his life after retirement. Xabi Alonso has won it all, from the World Cup to Champions League titles and almost every European trophy in between. The Spaniard's been playing professionally for 16 years and last year transferred to Bayern Munich following a glittering 5 years at Real Madrid. We spoke exclusively with the Spanish midfielder at Bayern's training ground. I asked him which league is Europe's strongest.
For me, it's been a great experience, but it's hard to tell which one is the best. Of course, I really like the Premier League because it's the way it's been broadcasted all over the world, and the way you have to watch the game. And as a spectator, probably is the best league, the Premier League.
Okay. And on the spectator front and on the television front internationally, can the Bundesliga ever compete with the Premier League? I mean, you look at the TV rights money and the Premier League is way ahead. How can the Bundesliga catch up? How can Bayern Munich catch up with the Manchester Uniteds of this world?
Well, I think that in our case, particularly Bayern Munich, we can compete with all the teams financially talking about, because you see all the incomes that they come from merchandising, from the stadium, from the TV rights, and they have it's very well balanced. But of course, to compete with the Premier League, it's really tough, because they are years ahead of La Liga, of Bundesliga, in terms of selling the TV rights, in terms of merchandising, and all over the world. They have been doing this work to have like a worldwide brand for years, and in those terms, it's hard to compete, but I think that it's good that the Bundesliga is growing for the last years. The level of the teams is getting better.
Which league do you play in next? What about Italy?
Well, I don't know. I am 33 now, so the end is getting closer.
Is it getting closer?
I don't know. When
is this your final club at the top, or?
No, I don't know.
I
don't. Who knows? At the moment, I am focused on in this season, but for sure, I will have to take a
Would you be
decision.
happy now, having just played in those 3 big leagues? And would
Well,
you have liked to have done Italy
yeah,
or
because-
France or?
Well,
somewhere
so far
else?
I'm happy because I love football and I love the clubs with big tradition, big history, and so far I came from Sociedad, my hometown. That's where I wanted to play. After I went to Liverpool, all the history, Real Madrid, 10 Champions League, and coming here to Bayern, it was like a nice script of a football career, I would say that.
Can you compete with Barcelona? I mean, they were the team of
Yeah, of
Europe
course.
last year, Real Madrid before. So Spain seemed to have
Well, absolutely. I
the
think
dominance in the Champions League. You won it the year before, Bayern Munich. Is it going to be difficult to stop the dominant Spanish side? There are 5 now, aren't there, in this season's Champions League, which is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But of course, it's gonna be tough because once you are in the semi-finals, you know that quarterfinal, semi-final, Champions League, you know that you are gonna face one of the best teams in Europe. And whenever you're playing against Madrid or Barcelona, that they are fantastic teams. Anything can happen, but we need to get ready for that moment. But I wouldn't say that at the moment there's a Spain's dominance because before, as you said, the final was between Bayern and Dortmund.
Yeah.
A few years ago,
English teams have
there
had a
was
dominant
their Premier
period.
League team, so probably the football is as well a little bit like cycles. There are cycles, and there was the Premier League cycle, the German one, the Spanish one. So the good thing is that you don't see a clear favorite. There are 5-6 top teams in Europe that they are for sure contenders for the Champions League.
You've won everything, literally. World Cup, European Championships, Champions League, National Leagues, National Cups. What's left? What keeps you going?
Well,
because you've literally won everything there is to win in
of course,
football.
for me the most important is the collective accomplishments. But as an individual, as a football player, I have that thing that to win the 3rd Champions League with the 3rd club, it will be like the ice on the cake. You say no, the ice on the cake for me. It will be like I think that only Seedorf has achieved that, and it will be a great achievement. But it's going to be a difficult one. I will try that.
You've obviously been very successful both on the pitch and financially. You've been rewarded for that. Are football players advised enough on where to put their money, how to manage their money? In your experience, would you say there's enough advice for players?
Well, probably from it depends a lot of the background you have or how you are raised. I understand in some cases it's difficult to cope with that fame, with that big money that comes suddenly into your hands, and to be able to manage it in the right way. Probably you don't have the formation, or your parents they don't have the formation, and that's why you have to be surrounded with great advisors. But it's difficult as well to find that people to trust your money or where you are going to put that. Because from my case, I was lucky enough to my parent. He was a football player as well, and we were we had like a good advisors or a good team we had, so I had no problems. But it's not easy to deal with that strong change.
Do you take an active
I try to
participation in
have
managing your money? I mean, you keep a keen interest in it.
Yeah. I try to have a control of my finances, to have like a business plan, because you know that in 10 years you get a great amount of money, but you need to try to be smart enough to be able to not to have enough returns for the future as well.
Can you give us an idea? I mean,
Well, I try to
Of-
diversify on real estate or in the stocks, of to have a nice portfolio,
Yeah.
to not to be hit with this suddenly China crisis or with the financial crisis. To have a diversified
You
portfolio.
keep an eye on it, do you? You know,
Yeah, of
global
course.
financial markets.
Yes, I do keep an eye, because I have some investment in those areas, and you need to keep an eye. And as I said before, the end probably is closer, so I need to be more focused on those things as well.
And the Spanish economy's rebounded. Are you surprised? It's the sort of the strong economy right now in Europe on a growth
probably
level.
The growth level is around 3.3%. So that's great news, because the crisis hit really hard Spain, and the measures that had to be taken were really tough. But of course, the macro numbers are looking really good for Spain. Probably for the people on the streets, it's
Still very high
It's still
unemployment.
high. The unemployment rate is really high. So it's not easy to deal for those people. But probably in the long term, they will notice that, and hopefully not just Spain and Europe will get better and better, and that's going to be good as well.
Yeah, Xavi, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to speak to you.
Good to
Thank
speak
you
to
very
you.
much.